why men and women's buttons are on different sides. If you ever noticed that men's shirt buttons are one way and women's are another, you're not alone. And no, it's not a fashion accident. This design goes back hundreds of years, long before modern clothing or mass production. To understand it, we have to go back to Europe, when buttons first became common in clothing. Before buttons, clothes were tied, pinned, or wrapped. Buttons were expensive, handmade, and a sign of wealth, so only the upper class wore button garments at first. And here's where the split begins. Men's buttons were built for self-dressing. Historically, men dressed themselves. Men's clothing was designed for practicality, military uniforms, riding clothes, and workwear. Most men were right-handed, so placing the buttons on the right side of the garment made it easier to fasten with a dominant hand. That convention stuck. Men's shirts, coats, and jackets all have buttons on the right side ever since. Women's buttons were designed for servants. Women's clothing followed a very different path. Upper-class women in Europe were not expected to dress themselves. Wealthy women were assisted by maids or lady attendees, who stood facing them while fastening gowns, corsets. From the maid's perspective, placing the buttons on the left side of the wearer made the task easier. Again, because most people were right-handed. So women's garments were designed for the person helping, not the person wearing them. That's why women's buttons ended up on the left side. Why didn't it change? You might expect this to disappear once servants became rare. But by the time women began dressing themselves regularly, especially in the late 19th and 20th century, clothing manufacturers had already standardized this practice. Factories didn't change because people were used to it. Clothing templates had already been established. That's how women's clothes are made. Became a tradition. Even when the original reason vanished, the design stayed. There are a number of other theories out there to explain this, but the servant explanation is the one supported by fashion historians and clothing records. What started as a class distinction quietly turned into a gender norm, ones we still wear today without thinking about it. Like, comment, and sub for more interesting stories.